Hey, witches and wizards, what's up? Today, I invite you to join me while I make some grapevine wreaths. Meet Grapevine. Grapevine is a pretty wild and gnarly spirit, but learning to work with it isn't hard. It just takes a little patience and, of course, a little witchy magic. The best way to learn is just by doing. I can show you how to get started, but to become a true grapevine whisperer, you need to meet it in person and see how it grows. Hold it in your hands, feel how it bends and moves, play around with it and learn how to work with it. That's how you get to understand and know grapevine, and then you'll be able to create some magic with it. You can identify grapevines by their leaves, if there are any left, and also by their tendrils. Sometimes you'll even find tiny dried up grapes, and you can notice the bark. That also helps. For making wreaths, you want live vines because the dead ones are just too dry and will break when you try to bend them. In the autumn, you can tell which are the live vines by looking for the dried leaves on them. Grapevines. I have a massive amount of grapevines, and this part I want to get done outside while it's a nice day because it gets really messy to do inside. So I'm going to move these out of the way so they won't get caught up in when I work. So these are going to be the base for my wreaths instead of using a wire form. I like to use grapevines so they're all natural. So the first step is to untangle them, find an end. I like to start with the big end. It's sort of like working with pythons. So I'm going to take off this really thick piece because it's a little bit too thick to move properly. See, here's the nice thing about doing this outdoors. Easy cleanup. So I'm going to start by getting the hair out of my eyes, and I'm going to make a loop that's about the size that I want the wreath to be. And keep in mind that when you add stuff to the base of the wreath, it's going to get bigger. And then I'm just going to start braiding, and let's see, I've got this skinny little piece which is going to be handy for just starting to wrap around and hold things together. And I'm just going to keep kind of turning as I go and remembering to wrap in the same direction so it doesn't come undone. Get through there. It always helps to talk to the grapevines as you go. So right now I'm just wrapping this skinny piece to hold things together because it's easier than trying to pull this big long piece through. This is about 40 miles long. So for the moment, I'm just going to keep using this small piece to bind it. So now I've reached a point where there's a fork in the grapevine, which is great for, it means I can start doing some creative braiding and twining and stuff. But I don't want these pieces to be too long because they'll be awkward to work with. So I'm going to take my trusty clippers and go a little ways down and clip that. And I see on this piece there's another fork, which is also going to be fun to work with. So I'll give myself a little space on that. Okay, so now we have something a little more manageable here. So I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to put one going under this direction and the other one is going to go in the opposite direction, which is going to give sort of a braided look on the wreath. Even though this wreath may end up being totally covered with other stuff, greens or dry flowers or whatever, I still like to have the wreath itself look nice because I never know what I'm going to do with it. Sometimes I might do a design that leaves part of the wreath exposed, part of the grapevine base exposed. So I'm going to just kind of keep on with, let's see, this piece going this way. See, this is why you move these out of the way, because they keep grabbing each other. So that piece goes that way, and this piece goes this way. So it's kind of like a, cross them over each other like this. Cross them underneath. Turn the wreath a little. And just keep kind of crossing over and braiding like that. Now I've hit that second fork, so now I've got three pieces to be working with. But a couple of them are getting pretty short here. So when I get to the end of a piece, I usually try to tuck it in pretty good. Shape it a little. So here's a technique that will save you some time. I have this really long piece, which is going to be a royal pain to keep pushing through the wreath. What I can do is cut it in half, and I'm going to line up the thick ends. And now I have essentially a double piece to wrap, which is going to go a lot faster. It's also not only double, but it's shorter. So I'm going to just start it off here by tucking those thick ends in to hold it. And now I can start wrapping. And it's still a bit of a pain, but it's still a pain, but it's a little bit faster and will go much quicker. So just holding on to all those. And once you get used to doing this, you can take that a step further and you could even do 3 or 4 pieces if they're smaller pieces. All you have to do is get a bit of a base made first with some of the thicker pieces. These sticks that are stuck in the tendrils. Just make sure you keep taking a minute to check your work as you go and make sure that everything is looking good, lining up. Remember, you can reshape a little at the end. And also remember that perfect shape is not the point of these wreaths. It's cool to have them be a little artsy looking. And asymmetrical. So I'm just tucking those ends in to any convenient space that I can find. And they happen to be laying really nice, so I don't even have to clip them. However, I will clip this. There's another twig in a tendril, which needs to come out. And there we have, there you go. So this little conglomerate here I think is a great look and will be a lot of fun when you get to the point, if you're decorating the rest of the wreath, to have this up at the top. So now I'm going to show you another technique. So I just started this wreath and I've got this huge mess here, but it's good material. It's just a little disorganized. So rather than trying to wrap it around this wreath just yet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to braid it or twine it separately like this. So it helps to be standing up for this because you can put the wreath between your knees. And I am just twisting these ends together. So I'm going to turn them into one piece. So now we have something that's much easier to work with and will also be faster to work with. So now I can just take this pre-twisted piece and wrap it around like this. Doing a little shaping. Leave that now because I think it looks cool. I can always cut it off later. So now that huge, unruly mass of grapevines has been transformed into a lovely assortment of wreaths. Until you're ready to use them, you can store them in a nice tidy stack, and it's best to keep them outside if possible in a protected area like a shed so that they don't dry out. As we get closer to the holidays, I'll be showing you some cool things to do with these bases. Until then, enjoy the autumn, don't forget to be witchy, and I'll see you soon. Bye!